Hello, my name is Tubuntu2 and this is my channel. Today we'll be talking about the final brawl of Civil War. This video is part of a larger series called One Marvelous Scene. It includes video essays on Marvel's best moments that spanned 22 entire films and created a massive and immersive universe of superheroes. If you are interested, please visit the playlist linked below to watch other videos of One Marvelous Scene. As for my part, I chose to talk about a scene from Captain America Civil War that sits at the top alongside many of the Marvel movies released to this day. Despite being a Captain America movie, the film plays more like an Avengers movie with its massive cast of superheroes. The last fight scene of the movie that I like to call the final brawl of Civil War is one of the coolest scenes in Marvel's cinematic universe. Who would win if Iron Man fought Captain America? The scene materialized this argument that we loved to fantasize since the first conflicts of the characters in the first Avengers movie. Besides being a cool fight scene to watch, the whole movie builds up to this point. A better understanding of the conflict between the heroes due to the Sokovia Accords and the role of the villain is very crucial to fully understand this scene. So let's get started. The connected movies allow clever foreshadowing of future movies with clever inserts of information and post-credit scenes. Besides these scenes, one major benefit of a connected universe for the characters is the opportunity for character progression beyond a single movie or movie series limited to one character. Heroes build their characters as they fight threats including evil Norse gods, army of aliens, or their own creations in case of Tony. Every movie that dealt with these threats brought together the ensemble of characters who worked together to stop the apocalypse, the threat to the survival of humanity, etc. The events that led up to Civil War, capsuled in the movies that followed it, were displays of heroism and teamwork, but every battle had consequences. The wars that followed left scars for characters as well as the whole world, and each event changed the way heroes thought of the world and their role in it. Iron Man at the beginning was a rebel who worked and pursued goals on his whims. His motivations were dictated by his narcissistic views and his sense for recognition as a superhero. But the decisions he made following his journey as a hero to prevent disasters instead created them. The Battle of New York traumatized Tony for the rest of the movies and led him to create Ultron as a consequence of his attempt at world peace.
This quadrant is unsafe. We are here to help.
Every action Ultron took and every loss of life was Iron Man's fault. Even though he managed to stop Ultron from destroying the world, he paid for Ultron's creation with loss of lives during the Sokovia battles and destruction of the city. In the grand scheme of things, the sacrifice of a small town isn't that big for the sake of saving the world, and one can argue that the collateral damages were unavoidable, but Tony has to face the consequences nonetheless. When Tony agrees to follow Sokovia Accords to keep heroes in check, he feels guilt for the loss of lives during the battles in the past. The death of a son for a mother is cataclysmic, despite it being a collateral damage for saving the world. Tony faces this reality along with the realities of war and his responsibility as a soldier in it. On the other hand, Captain America was a loyal soldier who would follow every order to the word during the first movies. His decision to oppose Sokovia Accord stems from his experience as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. who has faced betrayal and had to fight against said authorities to prevent war. The Winter Soldier movie morphs Steve Rogers' view of a government authority as an impartial and just figure into a flawed system of governance susceptible to corruption. Without the depth and detail of incidents provided by other movies, the validity of the argument between Iron Man and Captain America would be non existent. So, when they do end up fighting each other in the airport, the conflict feels justified where other heroes side with a view that feels right to them. Let's talk about a small criticism for the Civil War movie. Even though I am a Marvel fanboy, I need to mention one small detail that even I glossed over multiple times before. The final scene starts like this. Bucky and Steve enter the Winter Soldier's research facility in search of multiple Winter Soldiers to fight and defeat. Iron Man is aware of the facility as well and joins them inside with one of the flashiest Iron Man suit-up scene till date. The encounter between the characters leads to a truce in order to defeat the greater evil, the Winter Soldiers predicted to be in control of the main villain Baron Zemo. And that, my friend, is where the problem lies. The truce is totally justified here, but it nullifies the whole Civil War aspect of the movie that is stressed at the first and second arc. The escalated tension between the heroes disappear as they search for Zemo. This small detail would have been a big downer for me if the movie followed the traditional path of encountering the villain and defeating him, but that's where the movie does more than expected. Zemo doesn't feel menacing as the other MCU villains who are either ultra-powerful gods, aliens or so. Usually the final challenge for our heroes is to vanquish a large evil army or an individual. But Zemo is different. He operates with caution and finds vulnerability to exploit. In the end, he succeeds in what he wanted to accomplish. This clip drives the point home for me.
This is all you wanted. To see them rip each other apart.
I knew I couldn't kill them. More powerful men than me have tried. But if I could get them to kill each other...
The ultimate goal for Zemo isn't to destroy the world or kill people, it is to end the Avengers. Zemo does this by revealing the truth about Tony's parents' death, the clip of their murder at the hand of Bucky the Winter Soldier. This particular event was irreversible and was not open to dialogue. The tragedy was irreconcilable for Tony as his mother and father are shown begging for mercy. In Civil War, Zemo tries to escalate the Civil War issue by framing Bucky as a terrorist. But the final nail in the coffin for the Avengers team is this last scene. Tony can't accept his parents' murderer as an ally, and Steve cannot give up on his best friend, Bucky. The final fight scene doesn't happen because of the Civil War, it happens because the villain carefully manipulates our heroes to fight by revealing the truth at the perfect moment. Finally, let's talk about the scene, the final brawl of Civil War. The actual fight scene is well choreographed, and the only valid observation in terms of the fight is that the punches felt real. The fight is reminiscent of the Winter Soldier fighting style with heavy focus on hand-to-hand combat. The setting chosen to depict the fight scene is also particularly interesting as it limits the mobility of Iron Man and compels him to fight in a small space with melee attacks. The fight is shown with quick close-up cuts for registering the fast-paced hits while switching to a wide shot for positional awareness of the three characters. The whole fight scene lasts 8 minutes and 59 seconds, including the exposition for Zemo to clarify his motives. while the fight lasted, I as an audience had the chance to think about the events that happened throughout the movie and how the result of the fight would change the course of the movie. The fight ends after Captain America smashes Iron Man's arc reactor, and when Captain America drops his shield, it marks the end of his partnership with Tony. And this is when the conflict really ends. Not in a mutual understanding between the two parties, but with the disbanding of the Avengers. As cool as the whole fight is, the fight still doesn't really answer the question of who would win in a fight between Iron Man and Captain America. Captain America was fighting for saving his best friend, while Iron Man was fighting for revenge on Bucky. The plot emphasizes the concept of vengeance throughout the movie, as Black Panther is driven by the sense of revenge against his father's murderer, and the same is true for the main villain Zemo, who is out for revenge against Avengers because of his family's death during the Sokovia War. At the end, Black Panther confronts Zemo for killing his father but manages to overcome his vengeance. Iron Man, on the other hand, fails to do so, but when Captain America saves Bucky from Iron Man, he saves Iron Man too by preventing him from carrying out an act of revenge. The fight is open for interpretation, so my version can be less relatable to some audiences. But the result of the fight is very clear. Avengers are disbanded and fragmented after the fight. Zemo succeeds in doing what he intended to do, and here comes the question of what if. As I like to stress to my friends, every Marvel movie affects the other. I like the fight scene in Civil War not just because of the actual scene, but because of its repercussions. The separation of Avengers played an important role to justify the multiple settings in the Infinity War movie. And I would argue that the reason they failed to stop Thanos was because they weren't together. After all, they managed to avert previous threats in the past Avengers movie by sticking together and fighting as a team. Hopefully, the remaining heroes can work together in the endgame and undo the snap. After all, aren't we all waiting for just that? The endgame will mark the end of the best of what Marvel had to offer in this decade. The legacy of what Marvel accomplished in these movies can hardly be reproduced in the scale they have, and even Marvel itself will find it difficult to replicate the same. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks to the video essay creators who started this series in the first place and who encouraged audiences like me to make a video essay with one Marvelous Scene series. Final apologies for any misguided observations made during the essay. Hopefully the next ones get better if I make any. And I'm also excited for watching Endgame just like everyone else. Thank you and see you later.